Good afternoon. Back at Broken Head Beach, just south of Byron Bay in the northern rivers of Australia. As many of you know, we've had absolute torrential rain for a couple of weeks and the flooding's been amazing in New South Wales. And it just stopped yesterday, but as you can see, we're back to normal now. How quickly the beach recovers. It's a beautiful beach, Broken Head. So you can see that's Byron Bay behind me with the lighthouse, and that's Broken Headland there, which I'm going to do a walk in the opposite direction I did last time, but I just thought I'd start off on the beach so you can see the beach. It's a stunning beach, well known for its surf. And I've just been at the Mullumbimby markets this morning. It's the famous markets in the farming area of Mullumbimby. One of my two favourite markets, the Mullumbimby markets on Friday mornings. It's a farmer's market basically where I buy most of my food for the week, and the other one is the Bangalow markets, which is more of a local artisan market that's on every fourth Sunday. Both really worthwhile visiting. And what I'm doing on the beach today is I'm topping up on my sunlight and vitamin D, because the weather forecast says we've got about 3 days of sun before we get another week of heavy rain. So I'm out topping up my vitamin D levels, because vitamin D, which comes from sunlight exposure on the skin, is a fat soluble vitamin. So we're coming up into winter, so I'm getting as much sunlight as I can over summer to top up my vitamin D levels, and then during winter I'll have enough stored in my body to get me through. And of course I supplement that with fermented cod liver oil, which I'm going to talk about later on in the video, which keeps my levels up, enough to keep my levels up during winter. Not enough in it to avoid the sun, but it'll keep my levels up, maintain my levels over winter. And I get that from cod liver oil because it also contains vitamin A and vitamin K. I'm going to talk about vitamin A later on in the video. And vitamin D and vitamin A need each other in a correct balance, which is provided by nature, which is why I get mine from cod liver oil, which is where we've been getting it for hundreds of years. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about my usual two health paradigms. Number one is that true health comes from living life in harmony with nature, consistent with the Gaia theory, which states that all living organisms and their inorganic surroundings have evolved together as a single species, single system. Also consistent with the statement by neuroscientist Carl Friston that the anatomy of any living system has within it a model of the environment in which it's immersed, which means that the universe is made up of fractal patterns, which means that we are part of the universe and the universe is part of us. And my second principle, of course, is that Bitcoin is money for the people, by the people, part of the peaceful revolution. And the videos now are going to be inspired by, I've decided, by the poem by J.R.R. Tolkien, author of The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. And the poem is called The Riddle of Strider. And there's two really great lines in there that inspire me every day. The line that says, "All those who wander are not lost." And the second line is that, "Renewed shall be the blade that was broken." And the poem's all about Strider, the king of Gondor, who wandered around dressed in rags as a ranger, while he was still the true king of Gondor. And the whole theme of these videos that I do, we're all kings and queens of our own domain. And that whole concept is called self-sovereignty. And the whole reason of existence of the videos I do are about us achieving self-sovereignty of our health and our finances. So today we're going to talk about, from a health perspective, the 3 C's. We're going to talk about Crohn's disease, we're going to talk about Candida, and we're going to talk about cervical cancer. And we're also going to talk about, in terms of finances, how Bitcoin compares to gold, and why most of us involved in this area think that Bitcoin is far superior to gold as a store of value. So I'm going to turn around now. I'm going to head back to the headland and I'll walk over the headland to the beach on the other side while I discuss those things. So if you're interested in self-sovereignty, you're interested in being your own king or queen, you're interested in health, about cancer, about Crohn's disease, about Candida, you're interested in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies as a way of financial self-sovereignty, keep watching. So we're back after the musical break. Well, as you can probably tell, I'm on a different beach. Broken Head's disappeared. I did a fantastic 18-minute video yesterday walking over the Broken headland, talking about cancer, Candida and Crohn's disease and Bitcoin. Then somehow it magically got transferred up into the iCloud and won't download back down for some reason. So fast forward another day, as you can see we've still got good weather. Fast forward another day and I'm slightly north of Byron now. See Byron behind me, the beach I'm often on. As you can see, it's miles of beach. So what are we talking about? We're going to talk about cancer, Candida and Crohn's disease. Let's talk about cancer in the news, the week's roundup of cancer news. So the first one was a mouse study with breast cancer, and they found that melatonin, up there with vitamin D and vitamin A and miraculous substances for our body, melatonin in mice with breast cancer reduced the size of the breast cancer, reduced the risk of metastases, and reduced the angiogenesis. Angiogenesis is what cancer does to help itself grow. It needs a nutrient supply, it needs a blood supply, so it makes new blood vessels to go ahead of it so it can follow behind and make sure it's got a nutrient trail. So angiogenesis is a formation of new blood vessels by cancer to allow it to grow. And melatonin reduced the size, reduced the risk of angiogenesis, and reduced the risk of metastases. And the really cool thing about melatonin, as we all know, is that we make it ourselves from our pineal glands and also from our mitochondria, of which we've got 1 quadrillion of. And we make it for free, unless we switch it off by exposing our eyes and our skin to artificial blue light after the sun goes down at night. And that's much better. Getting it free is much better than supplementing with it, because you supplement it with it, you have no idea of the dose. The dose should be individualized. And nature, our bodies, sort out the right dose for us, which you can't guess by taking supplemental melatonin. We need to treat our bodies right by being in harmony with nature so that we produce the correct amount for ourselves. Second study was on HPV causing cervical cancer in women, and I wrote last week about how colostrum on the cervix has been shown to help reduce the viral load. But this study was about vitamin A, and vitamin A, which we already know is incredibly antiviral because it forms a cytokeratin shell around our cells, not letting the virus get near the cells. And if the virus can't get near the cells, it can't inject its DNA or RNA into us. Vitamin A also protects our lungs because it looks after the little cilia, the brooms, that we keep foreign material and infections out of our lungs with. But I found that women who had HPV problems with their cervix had much lower levels of vitamin A. And so that makes sense because vitamin A, as we said, is incredibly antiviral. I get my vitamin A from fermented cod liver oil because it also comes packaged by nature with vitamin D and vitamin K. And in fact, we now know that vitamin A and vitamin D need each other in the correct balance, and nature provides it in the correct balance rather than taking synthetic versions of it. And it's also important to get vitamin A pre-formed. Yes, we can make it from carotenoids in our diet, from plant foods, but the conversion rate of carotenoids to vitamin A ranges in the population from 10% to 90%. So some people only convert 10% of the carotenoids to vitamin A and they're chronically vitamin A deficient, whereas nature provides us with preformed vitamin A, particularly in liver and cod liver oil. And I get mine from fermented cod liver oil. Second study I wanted to talk about was Candida, and we found that studies showed that Candida causes disease, causes thrush in women by attaching to epithelial cells of the vagina. And what attracts the immune system to those epithelial cells as the early warning system that there's a problem is the mitochondria of the vaginal cells. So that means the healthier we keep our mitochondria, the much more likely we are, or women are, not to get a vaginal Candida infection. So keeping the mitochondria strong boosts our immune system, because there are 4 Candida organisms that can cause vaginal thrush. But our immune system doesn't care which one it is. Our immune system, we're surrounded by trillions of viruses. Our immune system can't have an individual strategy for each one. So it has to come up with systems, which means it has a system for whatever species of virus, fungus or bacteria. It's called the intelligent design of the body. So mitochondrial health for thrush. And the third thing I want to talk about was Crohn's disease, because again it has a link to fungus, because the data, the research coming out recently has all been about fungal problems causing Crohn's disease. And we know a little bit about the microbiome now. The microbiome is the good bacteria in our intestines. We know a little bit about that. We're just starting to learn about how important it is, but we know very little about the microbiome. That's micro, M-I-C-R-O, biome is bacteria. Myco, M-Y-C-O, biome is the fungi, the good fungi that live in our intestines. And we know very little about that, and we're just starting to learn about it. But what we've discovered is that when we get a imbalance of the microbiome, the fungus in our guts, those fungi out of balance can cause ulceration in the intestines, which we call Crohn's disease. So again, it's about keeping our microbiome and our microbiome healthy. It's one of the reasons I come to the beach and get sun all the time, because we know sunlight on the abdomen improves the microbiome, and that's why I come down and get direct sunlight to keep my microbiome as healthy as possible, and therefore I'm going to assume it's going to get my microbiome as healthy as possible, because we know that fungus doesn't like sunlight. In fact, I was reading the other day about Florence Nightingale, who mandated that all hospitals treating wounded soldiers should be open to the sunlight because it's so antimicrobial. So one of the things I do though, of course, is that when I'm out in the sun, I make sure I'm protecting my skin and nourishing it. In fact, in Ayurveda, the skin is called Anamaya Kosha, which literally means the layer derived from food. And we know the foods which are best to protect our skin from sunlight are foods which contain lycopene, L-Y-C-O-P-E-N-E. And of course, traditionally we've associated lycopene with tomatoes. The other 2 foods which are very high in lycopene are watermelon and guava. Now interesting, here's another example of how incredibly intelligent nature is that what I'm doing at the moment is, because it's just coming to the end of summer here, is I'm boosting all my vitamin D levels, because vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin, so I can store it in my fat cells, which will get me through winter, and then I supplement that vitamin D, or I top it up over winter with the vitamin D from fermented cod liver oil in the right balance with vitamin A. So nature's clever, because of course, what season do you get tomatoes, guava and watermelon in? It's summer, right when our exposure to sunlight is highest. So that's the cosmic intelligence of nature, which we've evolved with for thousands of years. And of course, the other thing I do to protect and nourish my skin the layer derived from food, is I use my skin tonic. As you can see, it's in a brown amber bottle, contains incredibly unique ingredients, and it will be on my mitochondrialyoga.com website as of mid next week, available for pre-order. Each bottle is handmade by me from local ingredients, including wild, traditionally prepared coconut oil infused with seaweed that I've collected for myself, because seaweed has incredible skin protection qualities that we're just starting to learn about. It's got Byron Bay olive oil in it, it's got Northern Rivers avocado oil, and avocado oil has been shown to be able to increase collagen in skin, as have liposomal vitamin C and coenzyme Q10, both of which are in the skin tonic. It's also got aloe vera gel from my ever expanding aloe vera garden, because Greg can grow aloe vera, doesn't require too much skills or green thumbs. And it's also infused with Solfeggio 528 hertz DNA repair frequencies, and also the frequencies of dolphins and whales. It's also exposed to red light to energize it with the protective elements of red light. So it's an incredibly unique formulation designed to both protect and nourish my skin from the sun, from excessive sun. And of course the other thing is, if my skin starts to get pink or hot, then I make sure I get out of the sun straight away. All right, so that's on my mitochondrialyoga.com website. Also got frankincense from Oman in it, and some other incredibly unique essential oils. Most of those have come from desert or mountain or ocean plants, because these are the plants which are, there's not a tea tree down here, out in the sun constantly, and they have to protect themselves from the UV light of the sun as well, because they get exposed all day. They can't go and cover up somewhere. Okay, let's finally talk about Bitcoin. Let's talk about a little bit more about Bitcoin and gold, because I saw some economists saying that Bitcoin, the problem with Bitcoin is the price is too volatile and gold is less volatile. Well, Bitcoin's not volatile. Well, it is, because it's undergoing what we call price discovery. Because when you invent something new, which is revolutionary, you don't really know what it's worth. And the criticism is that Bitcoin's only 12 years old and gold's been the preeminent store of value for the last 5,000 years. Well, not accepting Bitcoin as a store of value and sticking with gold is a bit like saying, the horse and cart have served us very well as a means of transport for the last few thousand years, and then somebody invents a car. And we say, no, we don't want to use cars. Horse and cart have been great for thousands of years. And then once we realize the benefit of more direct, faster transport and how it revolutionized the world, we suddenly started to realize the value of cars and the economic value of cars, and their price went up. So that's Bitcoin undergoing price discovery. That's human beings adapting and inventing more efficient stores of value. And the last criticism I saw of Bitcoin when I was watching a video with an economist was that he said that he could invent a better Bitcoin, a better store of value cryptocurrency. Well, the thing to remember is that Bitcoin wasn't invented overnight. Bitcoin took 20, 30 years of trial and error by some very dedicated cypherpunks trying to find a better system. It wasn't invented overnight. And yeah, look, maybe the economist, maybe I could invent a better store of value cryptocurrency in cyberspace. We could also probably invent a better social media platform than Facebook, and we could invent a better online shop than Amazon. But good luck making it work. Bitcoin's worked really well for 12 years. It has won the race to be the cryptocurrency store of value. So in summary, Bitcoin is undergoing price discovery because it is the most unique invention in monetary systems in the last few thousand years, and it's won the race to be the cyberspace store of value which we have given it because of the function that it does. It's that the value of anything is determined by what we give it. We give gold a lot of value. It's a shiny rock. It doesn't do very much. That's quite a good thing that it doesn't do very much, because we don't want its price determined by other things like it is, say, with oil and silver, which have other use cases. Bitcoin and gold don't have other use cases, so we decide on its value. And in fact, Bitcoin does a lot more than gold, because Bitcoin serves as a ledger on the blockchain. It's thousands of computers and miners storing and recording the ledger of transactions on a blockchain, which can't be hacked or manipulated or fraud, can't be subjected to fraudulent transactions. So it serves an incredible function. All right, that's enough for me today. I'm going to go get my shirt off, get some sun on my microbiome. Namaste, peace and love. See you next week from the beautiful Northern Rivers.